Philip forged his career in the specialty steel business, but his real passion is social justice, and that's something he's going to speak to you about today. Philip volunteered in the prison system for over 30 years and started both the John Howard Society of York Region and Youth Justice of York Region, two extremely successful rehabilitation programs. He was also instrumental in building the Elizabeth Fry Society of York Region and developing FAS Canada and acquiring the land donation for Belinda's Place. As a student of Quaker history, he came to Quakerism as an adult and found that Quaker values of social justice closely aligned with his own. I'm sure you're going to enjoy Philip's talk this morning, so I'll hand it over to you, Philip. Thank you.
So what I thought I would do is, first of all, I would tell you about a couple of friends of mine, like Mary. Mary was a 30-year-old school bus driver. Mary was so law-abiding, she didn't have so much as a parking ticket until she pushed a 14-inch carving knife through the heart of an undercover police officer. Then I thought I'd tell you about my friend Kaniz. Kaniz came from Urdu-speaking Pakistan. It was an arranged marriage. The wife of her first husband had died unexpectedly, and she got a 5-year-old stepchild in the marriage. Less than a year after Kaniz was here, she was arrested for the murder and the dismemberment of that 5-year-old girl. They would have arrested her much sooner. You see, they had found the body parts stuffed in the rocks on the shores of Lake Ontario, but they had no missing report of a little child. And so Toronto was seized for months by a manhunt, and what they were doing is they went to every nursery school and they found finger paintings, and they matched it to the severed hand. Then there was my friend Martha. Martha showed up at the Canadian border, Buffalo in fact, with $1 million cash, unmarked bills, and a promise to tell them where the other 20 million was if they would let her daughter go, who for some reason they were holding for questioning. So have I got your attention yet? Last year, Pickering very kindly invited me to talk about my work in the Youth Justice Committees, and to my surprise and delight, they invited me back to talk a little more about some of my experiences. The challenge of these talks is to get you to think from a different perspective. How's this for a perspective? Each year, the cost to keep my friends and 1,800 just like them is 4 times the highest tuition boarding fee you pay at Pickering. And they will be there for 25 years minimum. They have 24-hour security. They basically live in a bathroom with several other people. They have very few friends and will go for years without a visitor. And how's this for perspective? Jails don't work. They never have, and they never will. And don't take this old man's word for it. How about the Supreme Court of Canada? Canada is a world leader in many fields, particularly in the areas of progressive social policy and human rights. Unfortunately, our country is also distinguished as being a world leader in putting people in prison, the second or third highest amongst the industrialized nations of the world. And its prisons are growing rapidly. This record of incarceration rates can obviously not instill a sense of pride. And I'm still quoting. It is now generally recognized that imprisonment has not been effective in rehabilitation or reforming offenders, has not been shown to be a strong deterrent, and has achieved only temporary public protection with uneven retribution. More specifically, with regard to Aboriginal people, like my friend Mary, statistics about crime are often not well understood by the public, and are subject to variable interpretations by the experts. In the case of the statistics regarding the impact of the criminal justice system on the Aboriginal people, the figures are so stark and appalling that the magnitude of the problem can neither be misunderstood nor interpreted away. Studies for over 40 years contain findings that should shock the conscience of everyone in Canada. So, I didn't come here to give you a lecture on prison reform. What I want to do today, I want to take you inside with me, inside the prison walls. So let me give you a visual image. You've all seen those prison movies. You know the guy with the book cart, and he goes cell to cell, and he talks to each one of them individually? That's me. That's what I do. And after 40 or 30 years of earning trust and respect, I go into the ranges. I am with the inmates. And my personal private rule is I will not leave if someone still needs to talk. Now let me tell you, when your face is pressed against the bars and you're looking eye to eye and you're whispering so softly so no one else can hear, it's impossible to know who's locked in and who's locked out. So what do you do in there? Well, on my very first visit, I vomited. And that was a combination of fear and stench. For the next 6 visits, I went home crying. And I was crying because I was so confused. Why did I go in? And good God, why did I want to go back? And it was my wife that finally figured it out. She said, oh, instead of them being those vicious animals that have done those unspeakable deeds, they've become human to you. And I cried because I was undergoing a transformation. I was peeling off my preconceived and very comfortable concepts, and I was seeing them as human beings. And the reality was uncomfortable, and it was confusing, because all change is. Now, most inmates are very poor readers, very low reading skills. And so, you know, what would we like to read? Well, finally, after much discussion, Alias Grace by Margaret Atwood. Now, I don't know if you know this story. It's a true story. It happened right down Yonge Street at the top of Richmond Hill. 1838, young girl kills her master. She goes to the Kingston Penitentiary for life. And they heard that and they said, yes, yes, this is what we want to read. So we started and we're reading along. We're a few pages in and we're tracking with our fingers. It's very slow going. And suddenly we hit a line and they exploded into laughter. The guards came running down. What was going on? What was this strange noise? Was I okay? I'm fine. I'm fine. We simply hit a funny line. 15 minutes later, it happened again. Down they came streaming. And the third time they said, enough. We're too busy for this nonsense. So then the inmate said, when was she here? When was she in jail? I said, she was never here. She was never in jail. Oh, yes, they said she was here. She knows the jokes. She knows the lines. She was here. I said, I can assure you, she was never here. But I tell you what I will do. As a writer, she would love to know that she had nailed it, that she had captured it. So I will write to her, and I will tell her how much we are enjoying it. And so I did. I wrote to Margaret Atwood. And I told her, you know, we're reading along slowly, and we're all now in trouble, thanks to you. And she wrote back the most incredible letter. And she sent along audio tapes because it would help us get through the difficult parts. And she sent along a collection of her own poems. And she dedicated everything to the women in that range. I was so excited. And I said, this is absolutely amazing. that this noted international author would be so kind and so thoughtful and to dedicate the works to a range. And they said, well, is that valuable? I said, valuable, valuable. It's so unique. It's priceless. The following week, I went in and I asked for the books back so we could put them away for safekeeping. And they said, well, they're gone. I said, gone, gone. What do you mean gone? How can they be gone? Well, you said they were valuable. So we sold them. In summary, in my opinion, the whole situation was completely captured when Victor Hugo said, ignorance and poverty, these are the great crimes. So, if you want to see the best humanity has to offer, first go see the worst. If you want to see how high humanity can climb, go see how deep it can plunge. And if you're like me, you have no special skill and no special talent, you have no power, you have no authority, you have no money, and you have very little hope, take that little light that is you and walk into the darkest, stinkiest cavern of fallen humanity that you can find. And that little light that is you will shine with a radiance that will bring tears to the eyes of those that behold it. Thank you.